Next, on Currents News, fears of the deadly coronavirus are slamming Asian American neighborhoods in New York. The Guardian Angels are on patrol, intending to make a difference. The top Democrats who want to be president will go at each other in a couple of hours, Mike Bloomberg among them for the first time.
The U.S. Marines remember the 75th anniversary of a major World War II battle. I'm Tim Harfman. I'll introduce you to Staten Island's sole survivor and how his Catholic faith played a role in his life. That's coming up.
Plus, the Pope is getting evidence of a Catholic resurgence in terror-torn Iraq. Your news starts right now. The Guardian Angels are now on the streets, not to fight crime, but to combat worries and anger. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. The Angels are on a new mission tonight. Turn back the fear that's invading Asian American neighborhoods. The coronavirus is taking a huge toll in these communities, both in business and backlash. Currents News' Emily Druby reports the latest from Manhattan's Chinatown.
The Guardian Angels hitting the pavement in Chinatown, taking action to calm down coronavirus fears.
Some are reacting by taking it out on their fellow neighbors who happen to be Asian American.
The intolerance motivated the famed volunteer crime prevention organization to step up their patrols in areas with a large Chinese community, like Flushing in Queens, Sunset Park in Brooklyn, and Manhattan's Chinatown. The coronavirus has killed over 2,000 people and infected more than 75,000, most in mainland China. In New York, fears over the deadly disease have been spreading, along with outright anger directed at Asian Americans.
Just getting yelled at, right? Well, randomly they would buy an order and then somebody would yell, "Coronavirus!"
Guardian Angels founder and Catholic Curtis Lewa says it has gotten so intense Asian Americans aren't even wearing face masks, a standard practice for many during flu season.
They're saying things to them, thinking that they're somehow like a demon, like they're a bearer of coronavirus.
The bad news doesn't stop with that. People are staying away from businesses in Asian American neighborhoods. In Chinatown, revenues are down an estimated 40 to 60%. Cities around the U.S. are hurting, and there has been an estimated 28% drop in tourism from China.
I always remember these restaurants were packed, full, and now you barely see one or two customers.
The Guardian Angels who took this shot have been eating at local restaurants, hoping others will follow their lead. And officials have launched a campaign called Show Some Love for Chinatown, with the hopes of encouraging people to get back into the businesses. And while the coronavirus concerns are not going away anytime soon, at least the community here knows they have a guardian angel. In Chinatown, Emily Druby, Currents News.
More than 24 people are under quarantine tonight in Westchester County. Dr. SHERLITA AMLER is chief of the health department.
The Westchester County Department of Health is currently monitoring 26 individuals. These individuals are all quarantined. This is a voluntary quarantine, most in their homes.
The patients are showing no signs of infections, all recently returned from places most impacted by the virus outbreak. The quarantine locations are being kept secret. Tonight, Iran is reporting 2 confirmed cases of the virus. With that news, at least 27 countries have now detected the disease among residents. An unspecified number of other people are being tested in Iran, which is promising to make the results public. And in Hong Kong, a second death from the illness has occurred. That brings the number of those who've died from the virus outside mainland China to 6. And Russia is shutting down its borders to anyone from China because of the disease. The ban covers Chinese citizens entering Russia for work, education, or tourist purposes. The restrictions will not apply to passengers transiting through the country. The nations share a lengthy land border. The Russian government has reported 2 virus cases involving Chinese citizens in Russia. The shutdown, which is temporary, goes into effect tomorrow. Now to the latest on the race for the White House. The Democrats hitting the debate stage tonight in Las Vegas. For the first time, former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg will face his rivals after a new poll showed him surging into the runner-up position behind Senator Bernie Sanders Everyone will be watching to see what happens in Vegas. Mike Bloomberg has been practicing for his first debate, and it appears his opponents have been practicing their attacks.
Anybody here worth $60 billion, you can run for president.
Bloomberg has spent more than $400 million in TV, radio, and digital ads targeting Super Tuesday states because he's not on the ballot in Nevada. But his team argues there's more to his campaign than just money.
Mike believes that Donald Trump is an existential threat to this country. His reelection poses a huge, enormous challenge to America, so he will spend whatever it takes to get Donald Trump out of office.
Senator Amy Klobuchar is welcoming Bloomberg to the debate stage.
I actually thought he should be on the debate stage because I don't think you should just be able to buy your way to the presidency.
The man who leads the delegate count right now, Pete Buttigieg, is taking aim at both Bloomberg and frontrunner Bernie Sanders.
Asking people to choose between a revolution and a billionaire, I just don't think that's speaking to where most of us are right now.
Joe Biden hasn't been where he wants to be, finishing at the bottom of the pack in both Iowa and New Hampshire. Now hoping for a strong finish in Nevada.
We choose unity over division. We choose compassion over cruelty. And maybe most importantly, we choose truth over lies. Truth over lies. So folks, it's time for us to get up.
As for Senator Elizabeth Warren, she tweeted her attack on Bloomberg, apparently comparing him to President Donald Trump, saying, "It's a shame Mike Bloomberg can buy his way into the debate. But at least now primary voters curious about how each candidate will take on Donald Trump can get a live demonstration of how we each take on an egomaniac billionaire." And then, while campaigning, she focused her attention and what remains of her voice on Trump.
I'm Elizabeth Warren. I'm the woman who is going to beat Donald Trump.
The Nevada caucus is this Saturday, although early voting already began last weekend. Nevada Democrats are hoping to avoid the fiasco that plagued the Iowa caucuses. They're using iPads and a different system. The party is confident all will go well, but some officials are worried that they haven't had hands-on experience yet.
Actually working through it and be able to ask questions about something in the iPad that maybe is bothering you.
You have not physically touched an iPad?
I have not physically touched their iPad yet, no.
We're doing trainings around the clock. That's going to happen every day up until caucus day.
There have been some glitches with early voting over the weekend. The lines were long and some ballots were not counted because of missing signatures or how they were filled out. President Trump is planning to spend the night in Las Vegas as the Democrats debate. He's going to speak at a graduation ceremony for more than 24 ex-offenders who've completed the Hope for Prisoners program. That's set for tomorrow at police headquarters. On Friday, he'll stage a re-election rally at the Las Vegas Convention Center. The Democratic caucuses wrap up on Saturday. Back in Washington, the controversy swirling around Attorney General William Barr is intensifying. The Justice Department is insisting tonight that Barr is not about to resign his post. Reports say the Attorney General has considered leaving because of the president's interference. Barr complained recently that Trump's tweets about federal cases have made his job impossible. Trump has admitted he's making the AG's job harder, but declares he's the chief law enforcement officer of the country. An update tonight on the Boy Scouts. Troops sponsored by Catholic parishes and other church organizations won't be impacted by the new Scouts bankruptcy case. The chief of the National Catholic Committee on Scouting says it's business as usual for the Catholics units, which are independent. The Boy Scouts of America filed for bankruptcy protection yesterday as that organization faces a flood of sexual abuse allegations. An American hero who risked his life in one of World War II's most vicious battles is being honored today, the 75th anniversary of Iwo Jima. Marine Nick Troianello believes he survived his wounds because of God. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports from Staten Island.
Inside this U.S. Marine Corps post, the list of veterans from Staten Island who fought in the bloody Battle of Iwo Jima. Every name marked with an asterisk, representing those who died during World War II or since, all except Nick Troianello. The 93-year-old is the last surviving Marine from Staten Island who fought in the battle. Troy Anello was recognized this morning for his heroism 75 years ago.
He's just like a shining light because of what he did back in 1945.
The private entered the service when he was 18 and found himself on the volcanic island in the Pacific.
We weren't even supposed to land on Iwo. The report was that it was going to be taken in 3 to 5 days. How mistaken they were.
More than 6,000 Americans died in the vicious month-long battle, thousands more injured.
One day you're with your comrades, and the next thing you know, a mortar comes down and knocks out God knows how many, and all you see is flesh and metal and stuff flying all over the place.
Troy Anello suffered a gunshot to his right forearm and a wound to his eye. For his bravery, Troy Anello earned a Purple Heart. He credits God with saving his life.
There is a God. I believe deeply. I pray for everybody every night, and always the guys that never come home.
75 years later, remembering all gave some, and some gave all. In Sunnyside, Staten Island, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
And it's a good day to thank a vet, especially a female one. Today is National Vet Girls Rise Day. The day honors the women who put their lives on the line to protect the U.S. Nearly 2 million women have answered the call to serve and are now veterans. Military women have been around since the Revolutionary War, although they often weren't recognized for their service. There's a lot more news headed your way. An American hero is remembered this Black History Month, a freedom rider who's returned to the Lord. The Eternal City is getting a bright spruce up thanks to the Knights of Columbus. It'll change the way people see an important tomb. And Pope Francis is about to take a new journey this weekend to address 2 things that are very close to his heart. He's going to a place where civilizations meet. Tonight, we mourn the loss of a beloved civil rights activist. Reverend Reginald Green was a freedom rider who devoted his life to fighting racial segregation in the South. And as Sam Ford reports, he's being remembered for his dedication to equality and his kind spirit.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom.
Reverend Reginald Green died this month at age 80. He was a freedom fighter, recalling the songs they sang in the 60s in Southern jails as they opposed racism. In recent years, he went back to look at his cell with JOAN, another freedom rider.
We had to live up to what we said in church, about loving your neighbor and treating people the way you want to be treated.
We spoke to her via Skype from Memphis today, where she and her son are speaking against voter suppression. Her son Loki shot this video of Reverend Green.
You took the music of spirituals and other songs and songs you made up to speak to what the movement was about.
And he's remembered here at the African American Civil War Museum, where he was on the board of directors from its inception.
A mugshot that was taken in Jackson, Mississippi in August 7th, 1961.
Director Frank Smith, a civil rights activist of that era, also showed us the famous picture of the Freedom Riders bus that the Ku Klux Klan firebombed.
He knew this had taken place before he left Washington, D.C., and that bus he was getting on was going through that same area.
Green pastored Walker Memorial Baptist Church many years, retired, and then subbed at other churches. He died of cancer.
He loved his church, he loved his family, he loved his community.
And Joan Mulholland recalled a story Green told her about his junior high singing group.
He was the lead singer, and his backup man was Marvin Gaye.
And go home to my Lord.
Sam Ford with that report. Funeral services for Reverend Green will be held on Friday at Walker Memorial Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. Pope Francis will be on the road this Sunday. He's heading to the Italian coastal city of Bari for the second time during his papacy. There, he'll get together with more than 50 Catholic bishops from 19 different nations that border the Mediterranean. Migrations and Middle East Christians will be at the heart of the journey. The goal is to highlight the Mediterranean as a meeting of civilizations, a place where Christianity developed and therefore a frontier of peace. The Holy Father put the safety of Iraqi Christians at the top of the agenda in a high-level meeting. He welcomed the top Kurdish leader to the Vatican and saw evidence of a Christian resurgence in the region. Claudia Torres reports from Rome.
The Prime Minister of Iraqi Kurdistan met with Pope Francis in the Vatican. Masroor Barzani says they spoke about the situation in Iraq and the Middle East. The Prime Minister likely re-invited the Pope to visit the region. During their meeting, they discussed the importance of interreligious dialogue in promoting tolerance and ending extremism. Pope Francis emphasized this message with this gift. It's a copy of the document on human fraternity he signed in Abu Dhabi with Muslim leaders a year ago.
Io vorrei che tutti noi di differenti religioni
I would hope that all of us of different religions can.
The Pope was also struck by this photograph of a cross raised in a town after the defeat of the Islamic State. The cordial meeting ended with a mutual request.
Once again, thank you and express our gratitude. And please, you pray for us. Thank you so much.
A few weeks ago, Pope Francis met with Barham Salih, president of Iraq. The Pope asked him to guarantee the safety of Christians in Iraq and to make sure they are included in the country's future. In Rome, Claudia Torres, Currents News.
And there's more good news on the Catholic comeback in Iraq. A historic Syriac Catholic church in Mosul is going to be rebuilt. Al Tahara Church was severely damaged after ISIS invaded the city in June of 2014. The terrorists murdered and committed other atrocities against Christians all over the region. The invaders destroyed at least 28 significant religious sites in Mosul, one of which was the Al Tahara Church. UNESCO is partnering with the United Arab Emirates to restore the church that was built in 1862. First, though, landmines inside will have to be removed. A new project is coming to the Eternal City of Rome thanks to the Knights of Columbus, who've been making a difference there for 100 years. Now, the Knights are taking action to better illuminate one of the world's most famous tombs. Melissa Butts reports from the Vatican.
A century ago, just 35 years after their beginnings in the United States, the Knights of Columbus came to Rome to offer activities to Catholic youth. Through decades and 9 papacies, their presence still remains in the Eternal City, as members traveled for their board meeting in the city that welcomed them 100 years ago.
It's been a wonderful relationship because to be so closely affiliated with the work of the Holy Father in the city of Rome has had tremendous benefits for the past century for our work in the United States and other countries, emphasizing charity, unity, and fraternity.
Today, the charity offers special assistance, events for youth, like Special Olympics, and material funds for the improvement of the Catholic Church. One example of their attention to maintenance and conservation of Christianity is with the Scavi Tour to see the tomb of St. Peter.
Well, we're working with the Fabbrica di San Pietro on an exciting project to have illumination for the Scavi, which is the tomb of St. Peter. So this is a tremendous testimony to really the founding of our church and the whole reason why St. Peter's is built where it is, because they insisted on honoring the Prince of the Apostles, St. Peter, and they wanted the basilica directly over his tomb.
In a meeting with Pope Francis, the Supreme Knight Carl Anderson promised the Pope they would continue to work to be a sign of unity, charity, and a beacon of light to the world.
The Holy Father thanked us for our faithful witness to the sacredness of human life, to suggest that we're a witness to overcome the globalization of indifference as a model for youth and young Catholics. For him to say that we have, since our founding, had unswerving support to the successor of Peter. What more could you ask for to hear that from the Pope?
As they look forward with immigration and persecution of Christians as ever-pressing topics, they plan on evangelizing, breaking cultural barriers, and overcoming the globalization of indifference. In Rome, Melissa Butts, Currents News.
An exciting discovery from deep under the Roman Forum is going to be revealed to the world on Friday. Archaeologists have found a shrine dedicated to Romulus, one of the founders of the ancient city. The monument includes what appears to be an altar and a 55-inch high sarcophagus. According to Roman mythology, Romulus and his twin brother Remus established the city and the Roman kingdom hundreds of years before the birth of Christ. Still to come on Currents News, expanded coverage of Cardinal Joseph Zen's special visit to the Diocese of Brooklyn. It's in the latest edition of The Tablet. And at the crossroads of the world, Times Square honors for a band of heroes who perform their bravery half a world away. From the possibility of married priests to the fears of coronavirus, parishioners here in the Brooklyn Diocese have had a lot to digest these past few weeks. The Tablet's editor-in-chief, Jorge Dominguez, joins us now to talk about what's in the latest edition of The Tablet. Jorge, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Christina.
First, let's talk about the coronavirus. Just this past weekend, Cardinal Joseph Zen was in Flushing, which has a big population of Chinese Catholics. The Tablet has expanded coverage of his visit, I know. What was his takeaway message?
Well, the first thing is the first time that a Chinese cardinal celebrates Mass in our diocese, and our diocese have 500,000 people of Chinese origin, so it was a big deal.
Wow.
And the takeaway was, he said to the congregation, you have to thank God because you are in the United States. And he gave several reasons, but you have to read the article to know it.
Okay, we definitely will. You know, he's a big proponent of religious freedom, and he even participated in the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. What did he have to say about that?
The cardinal is 88 years old and he looks like 26. I mean, he's so active and so energetic. He was personally in the protests. He participated in those protests in Hong Kong. And I will tell you the whole story, but his conclusion is you cannot dialogue with a totalitarian government that just wants surrender. But he explains all the reasons for that in the article. You have to read it too.
All right. Now let's switch gears to the issue of married priests. And as we've reported, the Pope's Amazon document, which recently came out, didn't make any mention of ordaining married priests, though many Catholics were hoping to hear his decision on this. There was mixed reaction here in the diocese, right?
It is a very interesting article because we went around the diocese, Alison Escobar and our reporters went around the diocese asking people, and we got so many different reactions to the same document. Some people say, I'm very happy that the Pope didn't say anything. Some people say, no, but the question is open. Some people say, well, it's not open. I mean, it is fascinating how everybody reads something different into the same document.
All right, last question. You got Bishop DiMarzio's take on women deacons. What did he say?
Well, it is very interesting because they asking about the papal document and he didn't talk about married priests. He talked about that, what is the role of women in the church? Regardless of deacons or not deacons. It is very interesting what he said about the same document that everybody was talking about, married priests.
All right, the Tablet's editor-in-chief, Jorge Dominguez, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And the Tablet needs your support to ensure that Catholic journalism will thrive well into the future. You can do so by purchasing the paper at your parish or by subscribing to the Tablet so it comes right to your mailbox. You'll save up to 55% by having it delivered to your home versus paying for it at church. Go to the website, thetablet.org/home55 or call 877-883-8356. Finally tonight, Times Square has more billboards than you can count, but one is sparking a huge reaction. That's because this fiery billboard is actually a 70-foot tall thank you. It reads, imagine fighting a bushfire higher than this billboard. It's the New South Wales Rural Fire Service way of thanking U.S. and its own firefighters who have spent months battling devastating bushfires in Australia. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.